If you're over 60, there's one sweet, juicy habit that could silently increase your risk of a stroke overnight, without warning, without symptoms, and without any pain. You fall asleep feeling completely normal, and by morning, your speech is slurred, your balance is off, or one side of your body simply won't respond. As a neurologist, I've watched far too many seniors experience strokes they never expected. Not because of smoking, junk food, or being inactive, but because of something they genuinely thought was healthy. Fruit. Yes, fruit. Millions of older adults eat fruit every day, believing it supports their heart, mind, and digestion. And while certain fruits do promote healthy aging, others, especially when eaten at the wrong time or in large amounts, can actually cause harm. They can spike your blood sugar, dry out your brain, or dangerously interfere with your medication. And the worst part? No one ever thinks to warn you. Today on Senior Health Topics, I'm Dr. Samuel, and I'm going to reveal 9 everyday fruits that could be quietly raising your risk of stroke, memory decline, or even internal brain bleeding, especially after age 60. Have you ever questioned whether your healthy routine might be working against you? If you have, this message is for you, and it might just save your life. But first, if you haven't already subscribed, now's the time. Go ahead and tap that button and turn on notifications so you never miss another health insight tailored just for you. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how we can make it better for you. 1. Bananas, a potassium spike. You didn't expect. As a neurologist, I've encountered countless unexpected strokes over the years. But few causes trouble me more than everyday habits that appear harmless, yet quietly create the perfect conditions for disaster. Bananas, surprisingly, are one of those hidden culprits. Chances are you've always been told bananas are the ideal snack. They're soft, easy on the stomach, packed with potassium, and often marketed as heart-friendly. And for someone in their 30s or 40s, that's generally true. But once you cross into your 60s, everything about your body, especially how it manages potassium, starts to shift. That includes your kidneys, your blood vessels, and your heart. Let me break this down clearly. As we grow older, kidney function naturally declines. They become less effective at filtering, especially if you're managing high blood pressure, diabetes, or taking medications like diuretics, water pills, or ACE inhibitors. In that case, potassium, found in abundance in bananas, can start accumulating in your bloodstream. What does that mean for your body? Your heartbeat can become irregular, your blood vessels may constrict, and most concerning of all, blood clots can form where they shouldn't, blocking vital circulation. In the brain, a clot like that can cause catastrophic damage in mere moments. One patient I'll never forget was Mr. Raymond, 66, a retired woodworker from Ohio. He was sharp, active, and committed to clean eating. Every day, he topped his oatmeal with banana slices and took his blood pressure meds with a glass of orange juice. It was a habit he'd followed for over a year, until the morning his wife found him collapsed in the bathroom, unable to move his left side or speak clearly. Imaging at the hospital confirmed a small but devastating stroke. His potassium levels were dangerously elevated, disrupting his heart rhythm and causing clot formation while he slept. What he didn't realize is that just 2 bananas a day, when combined with his medication, were pushing his body past its limit. Here's what most seniors aren't told. You don't need nearly as much potassium as you think. Not from supplements, not from several fruits a day, and especially not all in one sitting. A single large banana packs over 450 milligrams of potassium. That's more than enough to throw off your electrolyte balance if your kidneys are struggling. And if you eat it at night, when your circulation slows, you're less hydrated, and your meds are still active, it creates the ideal environment for trouble. Hardened arteries, thickened blood, and a clot waiting to strike. So what should you do if you're over 60, especially if you're taking medications for your heart or blood pressure? Keep your banana intake to half a fruit per day, and only in the morning. Always pair it with protein, like a handful of nuts or a spoonful of Greek yogurt, to slow absorption. Avoid banana smoothies, banana bread, and definitely steer clear of bananas before bed. And most importantly, speak with your doctor about how potassium-rich foods might interact with your medications. That conversation could save your life, because here's the reality. What was once a healthy choice may no longer be safe, at least not without context. And if you're surprised by bananas, just wait until we get to grapes. Those tiny sugary orbs may be doing more to spike your blood sugar and inflame your brain than you ever imagined. If you're still tuned in and finding this information useful, drop a 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. Let's move forward to the second fruit on our list. 2. Grapes, a sweet burst with hidden risks. Grapes, juicy, sweet, and satisfying. A snack so light and cheerful it feels like nature's candy. You see them on fruit trays, tossed into cereal, or served after Sunday meals with the grandkids. But if you're over 60, especially with blood sugar concerns or silent circulation issues, grapes might be doing more harm than good. In fact, they could be a hidden trigger for stroke. It's easy to overlook the danger because grapes seem so harmless. But in reality, they're compact balls of sugar cloaked in a soft skin. Just a handful, especially the extra sweet, seedless varieties found in most grocery stores, can cause a rapid surge of glucose and fructose to hit your bloodstream. And for older blood vessels and brains, that sugar spike can have serious consequences. As we get older, our ability to regulate blood sugar weakens. Insulin responses slow down. Blood vessels become more delicate. And when sugar levels jump rapidly, it doesn't just overwork your pancreas. It inflames the fragile walls of arteries, even those that lead directly to the brain. Once inflamed, these vessels start to narrow and harden. Tiny tears can form. And it's in those tiny spots that dangerous clots begin to develop. You won't feel it. It won't show up on your blood pressure monitor. But beneath the surface, your body could be creating the perfect storm for a silent stroke. Let me share the story of Mrs. Jeanette Morris, 80, a retired school teacher from Missouri. She lived by a clean, natural lifestyle. No sodas, no junk food, always fresh fruit. Her go-to morning snack? A heaping bowl of red grapes. She'd nibble on them while reading the news, sometimes finishing off nearly 2 cups without thinking. Then one morning, while writing a birthday card, her vision began to blur. Moments later, her hand trembled, and she forgot how to spell the word congratulations. Alarmed, her daughter rushed her to the ER. It was a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke caused by a brief blockage of blood to her brain. Her test results showed midday sugar spikes and an A1C creeping into pre-diabetic territory, something she'd never considered. More concerning were signs of chronic inflammation in her blood vessels, likely aggravated by years of consuming high-sugar fruits without fiber or protein to soften the impact. Here's what I need you to know. Even the most innocent food choices can turn harmful without context. Once you're past 60, the when and how of eating matters just as much as what you eat. Grapes are digested quickly. That means sugar rushes into your system. And if you're eating them alone, especially when you're dehydrated or stressed, your body's response is to thicken the blood, tighten the vessels, and raise the odds of clotting. You won't feel it happening, but over time, this builds into a serious threat. That's why I tell all my older patients, never eat grapes by the bowl, never on an empty stomach. Always pair them with something rich in protein, like a slice of cheese or a few almonds. And only eat a small handful, preferably during daylight hours when your body's more active. If you're managing diabetes or taking blood pressure meds, it may be safest to avoid grapes altogether unless your doctor gives the green light. Because what feels like a harmless treat can, over time, steal away your balance, your memory, or even your independence. And if you thought grapes were surprising, wait until we get to another popular fruit. One that's often seen as a tropical delight, but has a troubling mix of sugar, acid, and enzymes, especially harmful when eaten late in the day. Let's move on to pineapple, and why your favorite after-dinner fruit could be putting your brain at risk while you sleep. 3. Pineapple, the sugary acid storm. There's something about pineapple that feels like a burst of sunshine, bright, sweet, tropical. Many of my older patients enjoy it as a light, guilt-free dessert, convinced it's healthy thanks to its natural enzymes and low-calorie feel. But what many seniors don't realize, and what worries me as a neurologist, is how this seemingly harmless fruit can become a silent contributor to stroke risk, especially when eaten at the wrong time. Pineapple is rich in bromelain, an enzyme known to help digest proteins. While small amounts may benefit digestion, too much, especially when paired with certain medications, can disrupt your body's clotting ability. It may lower platelet activity, increase bleeding tendencies, or cause erratic clot formation. For people over 60 who already have thinner blood vessels and slower metabolism, this disruption can be dangerous. And then there's the sugar content. 1 cup of pineapple delivers over 16 grams of natural sugar, enough to spike your blood sugar quickly. Unlike lower glycemic fruits like berries, pineapple causes a sharp rise in glucose, particularly risky when eaten late in the day. That sugar isn't burned as energy, it lingers, straining your blood vessels while you rest. But what most people overlook is the acid. Pineapple is among the most acidic fruits in the American diet. It can irritate the throat, worsen silent reflux, and in some seniors, cause nighttime microaspiration without the classic heartburn symptoms. This can reduce oxygen to the brain during sleep and increase the risk of early morning strokes, often the most severe and deadly type. I remember treating a patient, Mrs. Clara Hughes, 77, a retired choir director from North Carolina. She lived healthfully, avoided processed sugar, and swapped out desserts for fresh pineapple each night. For over a year, this was part of her nightly routine. One morning, she woke up feeling disoriented and cloudy. Her daughter noticed she was slurring her words and having trouble walking. A brain scan revealed a small stroke in the posterior part of the brain, affecting her balance and speech. Her lab work showed high glucose levels, signs of acid irritation in her airway, and problems with blood clotting markers. The cause wasn't one thing, but the combination of several: excess bromelain, nightly sugar surges, and acid-triggered reflux. Pineapple, something she believed was helping, had become a quiet threat to her independence. Clara's story isn't rare. As we age, everything from digestion to blood flow to sleep quality becomes more fragile. Eating acidic, sugary fruit before bed is like stacking the deck against your brain when circulation naturally slows and protection is at its lowest. Under those conditions, clots can form silently, leading to overnight strokes. So what's the safe approach? If you enjoy pineapple, stick to small portions and have them earlier in the day. Never eat it on an empty stomach and avoid combining it with blood-thinning medications unless your physician says it's safe. Most importantly, don't eat pineapple before going to bed. Your brain craves balance, not surprises, while you sleep. Because at this stage in life, even the healthiest fruit can tip the scale in the wrong direction. If that caught you off guard, just wait until we talk about watermelon, a fruit celebrated for hydration, yet under certain conditions may be quietly dehydrating your brain and lowering your blood pressure in ways that could make you collapse without warning. Let's explore how something so full of water can become a hidden danger. 4. Watermelon, a hydration myth with hidden risks. Few fruits are as beloved during summertime in America as watermelon. Chilled wedges on the 4th of July, seed-spitting games with the grandkids, and that crisp, juicy bite after a long day in the sun, it feels perfectly harmless, maybe even like nature's ideal refresher. And yes, watermelon is loaded with water, but for older adults, especially those dealing with heart concerns or certain medications, it can quietly become a hidden danger, not because of sugar or acid, but because of what it takes out of your body. In my years as a neurologist, I've grown increasingly concerned about how often well-meaning seniors unknowingly increase their stroke risk with foods that seem safe. Watermelon tops that list. While it appears to hydrate, it often acts as a natural diuretic, prompting the body to shed water more rapidly. That's not much of a problem for someone in their 20s. But for someone over 70 with fragile circulation, mild low blood pressure, or already on diuretics or ACE inhibitors, that loss of fluids can lead to one of the most silent and dangerous triggers for stroke: overnight dehydration. Why is that so risky? Because when your body dries out, your blood thickens. Imagine syrup slowly pushing through narrow aging vessels. That thicker blood moves more sluggishly, increasing the likelihood of clots, especially in arteries already narrowed with age. Your brain, which depends on steady oxygen and blood flow, becomes particularly vulnerable when circulation dips during the night and your blood pressure naturally drops. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard Larkin, 82, a retired postal worker from Indiana. He was committed to healthy habits, daily walks, avoiding sugar, and choosing whole foods. One nightly routine he loved was eating a few large slices of watermelon after dinner, thinking it kept him cool and hydrated. What he didn't know was that he was also taking a prescribed diuretic for early-stage heart failure. Between the medication and watermelon's diuretic effect, Howard's body was losing too much fluid while he slept. One morning he woke up dizzy and lost his balance. When he stood up, he collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure had dropped to a dangerously low level. Blood work showed highly concentrated hemoglobin, indicating thickened blood from dehydration. Brain scans confirmed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot that formed overnight in his already stiffened arteries. The very fruit Howard trusted to hydrate him had actually contributed to his dehydration, and the stroke left a lasting mark. It impaired his balance and motor control. Once independent and active, Howard now uses a cane and needs help with basic tasks. Just a week before, he had been mowing his own yard. I don't share his story to scare you, but to raise awareness. Even the healthiest foods can become harmful depending on your age, your medication, and your routine. Eating watermelon in the evening, especially if you're already taking fluid-reducing medications, can quietly set the stage for disaster. Thick blood, lower pressure, slower circulation. The perfect storm for clot formation during your most vulnerable hours. So if you're going to enjoy watermelon, be smart about it. Eat it earlier in the day and always combine it with something that restores electrolytes, like a pinch of sea salt or coconut water. And if you take diuretics, talk to your doctor before turning watermelon into a daily habit. Most importantly, pay attention to your body. Morning dizziness, a dry mouth overnight, or waking up confused aren't random. They're signs, signals that your brain is being affected more than you realize. And the danger? You won't know it's happening until it already has. If this caught you off guard, wait until we explore a fruit that's practically a symbol of a healthy morning, the classic orange. But hiding behind that bright peel is a compound that could be disrupting your medications and quietly raising your stroke risk. 5. Oranges. When citrus collides with medication. For generations, oranges have represented health and vitality in American homes. A glass of juice with breakfast, orange slices as an afternoon snack, or even one tucked into a holiday stocking. They've been promoted as nature's vitamin C powerhouse. But for seniors, especially those taking blood pressure or heart medications, this beloved citrus fruit can quietly turn into a chemical mix that sparks dangerous reactions inside the body, including those that lead to clot formation and stroke. The issue isn't only the sugar. While a large orange or a glass of juice can certainly spike blood sugar, the real concern lies in a lesser-known compound found in citrus called furanocoumarin, and most older adults have never even heard of it. Furanocoumarin interferes with the way your body metabolizes several common medications, especially statins, blood thinners, and calcium channel blockers. When this happens, your body may process your medicine too slowly, causing toxic buildup, or too quickly, leaving you under-medicated. Either way, your system becomes unstable. These reactions don't usually strike right away. They build slowly, invisibly, altering how your blood flows, how your vessels react, and how likely your body is to form clots. By the time symptoms appear, serious damage may already be underway. I once worked with a patient named Mr. Elmer Bryant, age 79, a retired bus driver from Georgia. Elmer was kind, cheerful, and committed to living clean. He took atorvastatin for cholesterol and amlodipine for high blood pressure. Every morning, without fail, he'd drink a tall glass of fresh orange juice, what he called his daily dose of sunshine. But that juice, rich in furanocoumarin, was unknowingly blocking his liver's ability to break down his medications. His blood pressure pills began building up in his system, exaggerating their effects. Meanwhile, the statin accumulated as well, leading to inflammation and added pressure on his arteries. After a few days of mild dizziness, Elmer collapsed while standing. He was rushed to the ER, confused and slurring his words. Imaging confirmed a mild ischemic stroke, and blood work revealed dangerously high drug levels. Not because he overdosed, but because his body couldn't clear the medication properly, thanks to that healthy orange juice. A clot had formed and blocked blood flow to a part of his brain. When I explained it to him and his wife, they were stunned. I thought I was doing everything right, Elmer said. And at one point, he was. But as the body ages, everything shifts, especially how it handles food and medication together. This is why I caution older adults about citrus. Grapefruit, Seville oranges, and even standard navel oranges can disrupt how medications work. Your liver slows with age, and your risk of drug-fruit interactions increases. What your body once tolerated without issue can become dangerous now. If you're over 60, it's wise to limit citrus intake and never combine it with medication unless your doctor gives you the go-ahead. Swap full glasses of juice for a splash in water. Choose lower interference fruits like clementines instead. And always check with your physician before making citrus a regular part of your routine. Because here's the truth, it's not just your prescriptions that matter, it's what you eat alongside them. One small habit, repeated daily, can silently shift your body into crisis mode without a single warning sign. If that gives you pause, good. It means you're paying attention. And while we've covered sugar, acid, hydration, and now citrus interference, there's another common fruit that many hospitals recommend, especially for digestion, that could be doing more harm than good. In fact, it may be slowly eroding the protective coating around your nerves. Let's move on to apples and uncover the blood sugar trap almost no one's talking about. 6. Apples, the hidden blood sugar spike. Apples, the ultimate symbol of health in American culture. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? You've probably heard that since childhood. Crisp, refreshing, easy to pack or peel, apples are handed out in hospitals, added to senior meals, and gifted by grandkids with love. But for those over 60, especially anyone managing blood sugar, blood pressure, or early memory changes, apples might not be as innocent as they seem. In fact, the wrong apple, eaten at the wrong time, can quietly disrupt your vascular stability and increase your risk of stroke. The truth is, not all apples are created equal. While they do contain fiber and nutrients, many of the most popular types, like Honeycrisp, Gala, and Fuji, are specifically bred to be sweeter, not healthier. These varieties have a high glycemic load, which means they release sugar into your bloodstream more rapidly than your aging metabolism can keep up with. And if eaten alone without any protein or healthy fat, they trigger sharp blood sugar spikes followed by sudden drops. These rapid swings don't just affect your energy levels. They impact your blood chemistry. A quick sugar surge makes the blood more acidic and sticky. Your insulin surges. Blood vessels constrict. Over time, these repeated cycles damage the thin inner walls of your arteries, including the ones feeding your brain. Tiny tears can form, and your body responds by building clots to patch the damage. In younger bodies, that repair process is quick and efficient. But in older adults, where arteries are already stiff and narrowed, those clots can become dangerous. They sit silently, waiting for the perfect storm. Take Mrs. Louise Hammond, 81, from Pennsylvania. A lifelong walker and a mindful eater, she avoided processed snacks and believed in natural foods. Every afternoon, she'd enjoy a large Honeycrisp apple. No junk food, just fruit. But Louise didn't realize she had developed insulin resistance, and those daily apple-induced sugar spikes were taking a toll on her arteries. She began noticing mild vision blurriness in the evenings and occasional head pressure when standing. Then one evening while cooking, she suddenly couldn't form her words. Her daughter rushed her to the ER, where doctors confirmed she had experienced a minor stroke. Her tests revealed unstable glucose levels and early signs of inflammation in the vessels leading to her brain. Louise's medications were working, but the sugar surges were undermining her vascular health. The stroke didn't come from bad habits. It came from a well-intentioned routine that, over time, stirred up the wrong conditions. She now enjoys apples differently, with more caution and balance. Here's what I recommend to every senior who loves apples. Choose wisely. Go for tart, lower sugar varieties like Granny Smith, which also contain more brain-protective polyphenols. Never eat apples alone. Pair them with a protein or fat, such as a bit of cheese or almond butter, to help blunt the sugar spike. And avoid eating high-sugar apples on an empty stomach, especially later in the day. Your brain thrives on steady fuel, not sugar roller coasters, because even the most wholesome foods can quietly create the perfect storm. Sugar spikes, narrowed vessels, clot formation, all of it happening beneath the surface until one day it doesn't stay silent anymore. And if apples surprised you, wait until we get to a fruit many seniors turn to for heart health. It's deep red, antioxidant rich, and often called a superfood. But too much of it, especially while on medication, can thin your blood more than you think and tip you into real danger. Let's talk about cherries and how this sweet fruit may quietly increase your risk of a brain bleed. 7 cherries. The natural blood thinner. You didn't see coming cherries, vibrant, delicious and bite-sized, are often praised as a top-tier superfruit. Doctors suggest them for easing joint pain, calming inflammation, and promoting heart health. You'll spot them in wellness articles, farmers markets, and sprinkled into everything from smoothies to leafy green salads. But for older adults, especially those taking blood thinners or clotting medications, cherries come with a lesser-known risk that can quietly become dangerous. That risk stems from a natural chemical in cherries called salicylates. This compound acts similarly to aspirin, helping to thin the blood. In small amounts, that may sound like a good thing, but if you're already on medications like Plavix, warfarin, or daily aspirin, adding even more blood-thinning agents, especially from food, can tip your system into a fragile state. The result? Blood that doesn't clot when needed, delicate vessels that rupture, and in severe cases, a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain. It sounds unlikely. Most people don't associate this kind of risk with fruit, but I've seen what happens when the dots are finally connected. Too late. One case that stays with me is Mr. Daniel Rhodes, 84, a retired conductor from Illinois. After a mild heart attack, he was put on a low-dose aspirin regimen, along with cholesterol and blood pressure medications. Intent on staying healthy, Daniel made it a ritual to finish his dinner with a small bowl of cherries. "It's better than ice cream," he'd say, convinced the antioxidants were keeping him young for his great-grandkids. At first, nothing seemed wrong, but after a few weeks, he developed strange symptoms, lingering headaches, occasional dizziness, and mild nausea. One morning, he awoke disoriented and vomiting. His wife called an ambulance. A CT scan revealed a brain bleed, a hemorrhagic stroke, not from trauma or high blood pressure, but from overly thin blood that had allowed a vessel in his brain to burst. Doctors reviewed everything. His medication, vitals, and dosage all appeared correct. But a deeper look at his diet revealed the answer. The steady intake of salicylates from the cherries, combined with his prescribed blood thinners, had created a slow-building storm inside his system, a storm that finally broke. That's the real danger. There's no warning, no flashing lights. You feel fine, until suddenly you don't. And when bleeding begins in the brain, it's difficult to contain. Recovery is uncertain. Some lose speech, others lose independence. Sometimes the damage is permanent. Here's what I want every older adult to understand. Even natural foods can have medicinal effects. Your body in your 70s or 80s doesn't process compounds the way it once did. A fruit that benefits a younger person may overload an aging system already managing medication, slower metabolism, and fragile vessels. If you love cherries, that's okay, but enjoy them with caution. A few now and then are likely harmless, but steer clear of cherry juice, cherry extract, or eating them by the bowlful if you're on clotting medications. Most importantly, talk to your healthcare provider before turning any superfruit into a daily habit, especially one with powerful properties like this. Because when blood becomes too thin, it doesn't just trickle, it pours, and it can leave lasting damage in its path. And if you think we've reached the last of the surprises, think again. There's one more fruit, served at brunches, added to yogurt parfaits, praised for its antioxidants, that may carry one of the highest pesticide loads in the produce aisle. And for aging brains, those chemicals don't just rinse off, they build up. Let's talk about strawberries and what may be hiding just beneath that glossy red surface. 8. Strawberries, hidden dangers beneath the shine. Bright red, heart-shaped, and just the right mix of sweet and tart. Strawberries look like the picture of health. They show up on hospital menus, in brain-boosting smoothie recipes, and at senior brunch buffets across the country. But for older adults, the truth about strawberries is more bitter than sweet. Beneath their beautiful surface, this popular fruit could be quietly increasing your stroke risk, triggering inflammation, and delivering neurotoxic chemicals you were never warned about. Let's start with what most people don't realize. Strawberries rank among the most chemically treated fruits in the produce aisle. Year after year, they top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list for highest pesticide residue, even after washing. And for seniors whose bodies filter toxins more slowly, those residues can accumulate over time. They don't just pass through, they settle into tissues including the brain, where they can disrupt function and weaken small blood vessels from within. These chemicals aren't harmless. Many of the pesticides sprayed on conventionally grown strawberries are classified as neurotoxins. That means they can harm brain cells and speed up oxidative stress in aging neurons. Over time, this degrades the strength of tiny blood vessels in the brain, especially in the white matter, where strokes, memory problems, and cognitive issues often begin. And as vessel walls weaken, inflammation and clot formation rise, silently increasing your risk for ischemic strokes. But pesticides are only half the concern. Strawberries also contain purines, compounds that convert to uric acid in the body. For older adults with gout, kidney problems, or vascular inflammation, a large portion of the senior population, this buildup can spark an inflammatory response. Blood vessels narrow, pressure rises, and once again, the stage is set for clot formation in the brain. I remember one patient, Mrs. Elaine Carter, 80, from Michigan. She adored strawberries. Every June, she picked them fresh, froze bags for winter smoothies, and enjoyed a handful after dinner, believing she was making a smart health choice. She had mild high blood pressure, took a diuretic, and occasionally battled joint stiffness. Over time, she began waking with dizziness, and her joints swelled more often. Then one morning, she couldn't feel her right hand and struggled to speak. Scans confirmed a minor ischemic stroke. Her blood work revealed elevated uric acid, oxidative stress markers, and signs of chronic inflammation, likely fed by years of pesticide exposure and purine overload. Her trusted fruit had become a slow, daily dose of risk. A clot had formed, and her aging system was no longer equipped to handle it. Elaine survived, but the stroke left her with memory lapses and lingering nerve pain. Through tears, she told me, "I thought I was being healthy." And that's exactly the issue. Nutrition after 60 isn't just about good intentions. It's about understanding how even wholesome foods can backfire under the wrong conditions. So, what's the safest approach to strawberries? Start by choosing organic every time. Rinse them well. Don't make them a daily staple, and don't count on them as your primary source of antioxidants. If you live with gout, kidney issues, or take blood pressure medication, ask your doctor before including them regularly in your diet. And be especially cautious with frozen strawberries, which often come from foreign farms with less strict pesticide rules. Because what you don't know can hurt you. It builds slowly, silently, until one day it strikes, robbing you of speech, mobility, or independence. And if you thought strawberries were the last surprise, think again. Up next is a tropical fruit often seen as luxurious and healthy, found in heart health blends and antioxidant drinks. But for older adults, it may quietly destabilize blood pressure and trigger morning strokes. Let's take a closer look at mango and why this sweet indulgence may not be as safe as it seems. 9. Mango, the sweet fruit that may spike more than just sugar. To many seniors, mango feels like a well-deserved indulgence. Tropical, juicy, and naturally sweet. It shows up in fruit salads, smoothies at wellness centers, and prepackaged snack bags labeled healthy. Its vibrant orange flesh and velvety texture make it seem like the perfect dessert from nature. But if you're over 60, especially on medications or managing heart or blood sugar issues, mango may not be doing your body the favor you think it is. Here's the surprising truth. Mango is among the highest sugar fruits in the produce aisle. 1 cup of ripe mango delivers close to 45 grams of natural sugar, more than most glazed donuts. And unlike fiber-rich carbs, the sugars in mango absorb quickly, triggering a sudden surge in blood glucose. That spike is soon followed by an insulin crash, And for aging bodies, this blood sugar roller coaster puts real pressure on your brain and circulatory system. When blood sugar soars, the body scrambles to restore balance. Blood vessels constrict, inflammation ramps up, and tiny cracks can form along the walls of the brain's most fragile arteries. That's when clotting begins, your body trying to seal what's broken. But in narrowed, aging vessels, those clots can block critical blood flow, turning a simple snack into the start of a stroke. And the danger doesn't stop there. Mango contains a plant compound called mangiferin, which can interfere with the liver's ability to metabolize certain medications. This happens through the cytochrome P450 enzyme pathway, the same one responsible for breaking down many prescriptions used for blood pressure, heart rhythm, and cholesterol. When this process slows down, drug levels rise in your bloodstream, increasing the risk of side effects or toxic buildup. If you take medications like amlodipine, metoprolol, or common statins, even small amounts of mango could alter their effect. Your blood pressure might drop too low, your heart rhythm could shift, and you may not notice until it's too late. Consider the story of Mr. William Booker, 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada. Always health conscious, he swapped out cookies for dried mango slices in the afternoons. He also took daily medications for atrial fibrillation and hypertension. At first, it seemed like a smart change, but then the morning dizziness started, and one day, as he stood to get out of bed, he collapsed. At the hospital, scans confirmed a minor ischemic stroke. Blood work showed that his medication levels were unusually high, and his overnight blood pressure had plummeted. It wasn't an overdose, it was a processing failure. The dried mango, packed with sugar and mangiferin, had overwhelmed his liver and thrown his careful medication balance into chaos. William recovered, but not without lasting effects. His coordination declined and his memory faltered. "I thought I was eating healthy," he told me. And he was, according to the packaging. But at his age, even a good choice on paper can turn dangerous when it clashes with biology and prescriptions. That's why I advise caution with mango. The sweetness hides its risks. It's not just about sugar, it's about how that sugar and those compounds interact with the aging body. Just a few bites, especially in dried or concentrated form, can be enough to destabilize the very systems keeping you healthy. If you love mango, keep it small, just a few chunks, eaten during the day and never alone. Always pair it with protein or healthy fat to soften the sugar spike. And most importantly, talk with your doctor if you're taking heart, blood pressure, or cholesterol medications. Mango may no longer be the right fit for your body's current needs, because as we age, our resilience changes. What we once handled without thought in our younger years can now carry real consequences, especially when it comes to food. So after hearing about these 9 fruits and the risks they pose, you may be asking, what can we eat to nourish our aging brain, protect our heart, and bring joy to the plate? In the next section, I'll show you which foods truly support cognitive strength, balance, and longevity, without clashing with your prescriptions or your health. Let's explore the foods that help you heal and help you thrive. Final reflection: the real story about fruit, aging, and brain protection. After exploring these 9 fruits that seem wholesome, but can quietly raise your stroke risk, you might feel unsettled, even misled. We've all grown up hearing that fruit is nature's remedy, a gift from the earth, a daily habit we could always trust without question. But once we reach our 60s and beyond, the reality becomes more nuanced, and understanding that shift is critical to your long-term health. Aging changes the game. The meals that nourished you at 35 won't be processed the same way at 70. Your kidneys slow down. Your liver takes longer to clear medications. Your arteries lose flexibility. And your brain, the organ most sensitive to small changes, becomes vulnerable to blood sugar swings, pressure shifts, and clotting fluctuations. That's why what you eat matters now more than ever. Unfortunately, many older adults, with good intentions, create daily routines that work against them. A banana with pills, grapes for a snack, pineapple after dinner, a big glass of orange juice before the day starts. These habits feel harmless, but inside the body they may be triggering low-level inflammation, constricting blood vessels, throwing off medication absorption, or setting the stage for clots. I've seen the consequences firsthand. Patients who seemed perfectly fine in the morning and were fighting for their lives by evening. People who lost their ability to speak, walk, or remember loved ones, all because of a clot no bigger than a grain of rice, lodged in a fragile part of the brain. And the saddest part, so many of these events were avoidable, with just a bit more insight about how aging changes how food affects us. But here's the hopeful part. Not all fruit is harmful. In fact, some fruits, if chosen thoughtfully and eaten in the right way, can actively support brain health, circulation, and independence well into your later years. So what should be on your plate? First up, berries. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. These are your brain's best friends. Low in sugar, rich in antioxidants, and packed with polyphenols that help soothe blood vessels and calm inflammation. They support focus, memory, and steady circulation without spiking your glucose or interfering with meds. Second, green apples, especially Granny Smiths. They contain less sugar than the sweeter varieties and are rich in protective flavonoids. Pair them with a tablespoon of nut butter or a slice of cheese, and you've got a snack that energizes without destabilizing your system. Third, don't forget avocados. Yes, they're technically a fruit. Loaded with healthy fats and potassium that absorb slowly, avocados support brain cell membranes, nerve signaling, and blood pressure regulation without the sugar rush. Fourth, lemons and limes. Use them as flavor, not food. A splash in water, on salads, or in soups helps stimulate detox pathways in the liver and digestion without spiking blood sugar or conflicting with most medications. Fifth, pomegranates in small doses. The juice can be helpful thanks to its antioxidants, but only when diluted and consumed mindfully. Just a few ounces go a long way, especially if you're managing heart or blood pressure issues. And here's the most overlooked factor: timing. Eat fruit earlier in the day. Avoid eating it alone. Always combine with a healthy fat or protein to slow down sugar absorption. And skip it at night, especially before bed, when blood flow is naturally slower and the risk of sugar-related stress on the brain is higher. Let me be very clear. This isn't about fear. It's about wisdom, respecting your body, your years, and the subtle ways your system now communicates with you. You are not weak, but you are different. That means enjoying sweetness with the dignity that comes from experience, not deprivation. You've come this far through strength, patience, and care. Don't let something as small as an overlooked fruit habit put that at risk. Every decision, even a snack, can pull you closer to lasting wellness or quietly build toward harm. So read the labels, ask questions, think beyond the flavor and consider the effect. Not just for today, but for weeks and months down the road. Because at this stage, food isn't just about fueling your day, it's about protecting your independence, your clarity, and your quality of life. With the right choices, the right fruits, and the right timing, you can stay sharp, strong, and grounded in wisdom. And always remember, your brain is paying attention to everything you put on your plate. So feed it the future you've worked so hard to earn. These insights are here to help you live more fully and more freely. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one takeaway from today's video that you plan to put into action? Drop it in the comments so we can support one another in this next chapter. If this message resonated, please leave a 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to leave a 0. Your feedback matters. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Senior Health Topics for more videos like this. Thank you for being here, and here's to writing the rest of your story on your terms.